Here at the FayWhat Show, we want to introduce you to interesting people that are so important to our LGBTQ plus community. Like this interview with the incredible Miss Marissa Alma Nick. Hola, mi gente. Good morning and welcome back to the FayWhat Show. Today's guest on the show is a writer, a dancer, a choreographer too. Her name is Marissa Alma Nick, and her debut novel, Rebel in Venus, is out already and it is receiving so much love from across the country. Why? Because she's reflecting on her queer, authentic experiences, and that is what totally gravitated me to her. Marissa has many stories to tell, and I have a lot of questions for her too, so let's welcome the beautiful and the talented Marissa Alma Nick. So I don't have the money yet to have an audience, so I do my own.
Hi.
Do you feel the adoring fans? Hi. Hi. And Luna. And Luna. Do you like Marissa too? Yes, yes, I know you do. I know. Marissa Alma Nick. I love that name. Okay, now understand that Miss Luna is all about love. And she has no boundaries. And she doesn't know how to ask permission either. So I will, she does believe in me too, but not right now. So there's that. Marissa, so this is how this interview is going to go. You're in bed with me. You're in your nightie. There's a dog in between us. All we need is a couple cats and we'll be like a married lesbian couple.
We're off to a perfect start.
I know. How are you? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God. Of course. Where do we begin? Marissa Alma Nick, is that your full name?
Yeah. First, middle, last.
For like legit. Like
Yeah.
it's not like Maria Almanasonia Nicoposius.
No. My parents gave me the name Marissa. Alma was my great grandmother, and Nick is my dad's last name. It was shortened when he came from Cuba. It was Shapaznik. Yeah.
And then Shapaznik.
Yeah, Polish. Cuban Jew.
Okay.
Yeah, and so then when he came from Cuba to here, they shortened it.
Wow.
But yeah, that's my Marissa Alma Nick. Three first names. And it spells man.
And it spells man. Oh my God. You have an acronym, man.
Yeah.
Man, but look at you, girl. There's nothing man about you.
Yes.
And we love it. And we say thank you. And we say thank you to Al Ferguson for actually referring Miss Marissa to me. I didn't know that she was this hot. If you would have told me that, I would have booked her like weeks ago. Anyway, Jewish, Cuban, German.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mom is German and Scottish.
Okay.
And her mom and grandmother, her mom's side of the family German, her father's side of the family Scottish. And my dad is born in Cuba, and half of his family was from Poland.
Okay. And have you met like family from Poland, from these other places?
Yes.
Or
not
like
Germany and Scotland.
Okay.
But my family from Cuba. Because I don't think any family, they migrated, the family from Poland migrated during the Holocaust.
Ah, okay.
So,
in that time, yeah. So imagínate, they're probably gone.
They died.
Yeah, they're dead.
Yeah.
Okay, rest in peace.
Yeah. But the ones who survived went to Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've met my family, a lot of them are here. Like it's a big Julian community in Miami.
Yeah.
And then I've met some of my cousins who are still live in Cuba.
Okay, so I'm married to a Cuban. I call her #myCuban because everybody should have their own Cuban, wherever you're at. Like Cubans make the world a more fun place. And they bring ropa vieja wherever they go. So Jewish, Cuban, German. Okay, and I get it. It doesn't matter that you weren't like raised with the Cuban and with the Jewish and the German. Cuban by itself. Okay,
Yeah.
like my mother-in-law is a Trumper. She just came around to calling me the wife. It's only taken like 6 years.
Yeah, but at least she did.
Oh, but that was a lot of hammering and a lot of gifts. Cubans like gifts. That's what I found out by living here.
And food.
And food. Y comida. Yeah. How is it growing up queer in that kind of environment down here?
Oh, it was same thing. Like my Cuban side of the family, my dad's side of the family overall is more conservative on the Jewish side, but and on the Jewish side, but also my dad's cousin, so my second cousin, he's in his, I think maybe 60s now. He came out in the 70s.
Okay.
And my dad and him were like very close. So I had this same thing on my mom's side. One of her cousins or like cousins, he came out to her like when they were also very young. So
oh my God, what a blessing, Marissa. Like they were able to pave that way for you on both sides.
Yeah.
Can you send them over to my parents?
Yeah. And so my whole family, like when I came out in college, was very accepting. Like the fear was more internalized and like culturally beyond my family, which I always thought is like interesting because sometimes it stays close at home.
Yeah.
That internalized homophobia or the fear of coming out. And it's more like the school or, you know, your friends at school, your friends at school.
Your friends at school. Yeah, because I think I always tell people, like, you know, every year we celebrate National Coming Out Day, right? But the reality is that in our queer community, we come out every freaking day.
Yeah.
Sometimes a couple times a day.
Yeah.
You know? It's just,
and then there's like a renaissance sometimes.
And then sometimes you just don't want, like, what? You don't already know? Look at me, I'm flaming.
Yeah, or not.
Or
people can't tell.
Yeah. No,
then you do need a flaming flag.
I'm queer. I'm here. I'm queer. I'm here. You're so refreshing, and your book and your representation is so important to me and to so many people. You know, you're a big advocate for breaking the stigma on mental health, right? And why is there still such a stigma around mental health, Marissa? Like, why are people in our community so afraid to just say, "Oh yeah, I need some help"?
Oh, I think it's like, again, it's like that internalized homophobia is like internalized perfection, like as whatever that means from society. And so we're always trying to show each other that we're okay, you know, or that we're perfect. And it's scary to feel that what happens when we admit that we're not okay. We've never really, as a society, in a recent culture, been taught that it's okay to ask for help. We don't live in like community anymore. Yeah. So, and it's hard. It's devastating. It's like, one, you don't know how the person's going to receive it, but then you're also making yourself so vulnerable. So it is. We have yet to really, I feel like we're working on it now. We're coming back to figuring out how to do it because I feel like we have reached, what's the word? Like a precipice. Like in America specifically, I was talking about this on the way to you. Like it's another pandemic in our country, suicide and mental health. It's like even beyond the queer community.
Big time. Big time. And it's, we're going to talk about that in a little bit also, because this month is actually National Suicide Prevention Month as well. So how perfect that you're here for that. You know, Marissa, I believe that everybody's on the spectrum of mental health, right? Like, especially in our community. Okay. We're marginalized, you know, we have PTSD, we have trauma, we have drama. We have trauma and drama, bitches, you know, plus we've been shunned by our family. You know, I don't know anybody, and I hate to say this out loud, but it's freaking true. Of my inner circle of friends, boys, girls, trans, I don't know anybody that hasn't been sexually assaulted in some way, shape, or form. And that's the reality that we live in, you know, and that needs to be worked through, which is why I go to therapy once a week. And this bitch should go a couple more times a week, like I don't say. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and people are like so embarrassed to say, like, I go to therapy. You know, I'm 9 years sober. I'll be 9 years sober next month, right? And I go to AA twice a week, and I get to sit around people that know what I'm going through, know what I've gone through. Sometimes just talking about it.
Yeah, you feel seen and understood also. Yes. Community is really important.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to, for me, why I went into all of this was also because I sort of met my own, like, you know, you sort of have to like meet your own darkness before you choose into the light also. Yeah. And I lost somebody to suicide. It sort of like also shakes you. For me, like when that happened, aside from like also dealing with the loss of that person, it was what was so scary is I saw myself in her. So it was like, ooh, I didn't ask for help. I got lucky that I had people who happened to be around me at the time who saw it and in a beautiful way forced me into getting help right before it was too late. Wow. And it was sort of an ultimatum, which I'm so grateful for because
they had an intervention.
I had an intervention. Thank you. That's the word. Yes. But it's not always that way. Yeah. And through that, I've been learning how beautiful it is to be vulnerable. And it is, but it's so hard to get, it's not easy, you know, and that's what's the other thing is, why aren't you just opening up? Why don't you just ask for help? Because it's not easy.
It's not easy. You're unpacking all this trauma.
It takes so much courage. It's one of the most courageous things.
I know, girl. Okay, again, a little off topic. I told you this thing is going to go all over the place, right? I know this girl that super believes in ayahuasca, right? I would never put that into my body. That's just my own preference. If you want to use it and it helps you dislodge some crap up there, go for it, okay? But I'm afraid to take something like that and dislodge something that I've put away so secure. Y no me está molestando. It's not bothering me, so why am I going to bring it out? You know, and some people feel that way about therapy. Why should I unpack all this?
I love that because my therapy journey, it was so scary. And I think it's a roller coaster. But what I've learned about healing trauma And there are specialty therapists that specialize in healing trauma. It's usually beyond just talk therapy. It's some sort of I do EMDR.
Okay.
And it's all about whatever type of somatic it's somatic, because what happens with trauma is it gets into your nervous system. And this is not negotiable. That's where it's stored. There's a great book, The Body Keeps a Score. It's a pretty...
I love that.
Yeah. And this is what happens. And so when you go to heal trauma, it always starts, you have to start bottom to top. You have to start with healing what's happening in the body.
Wow.
And then you can address the conversation that you're having in your brain, because PTSD really it stores itself. And there are those moments where you see, hear, smell something that triggers you.
And you're catapulted right back.
Or your body, even if you can become so aware, your body goes into sort of a freeze state, and the dissociation is very real. Not only are you brought back, some people, the trauma is so real that you just disappear, like you're there but not there, like sort of a constantly out of body experience.
Wow.
So it's so scary at first, but it is such an interesting healing journey, because you never get rid of the trauma. Okay. You don't undo your story. You don't say, I'm going to trade it in for a better one. But you learn how to become so self-aware. And now this thing that happened to you no longer has control over you.
I love that.
You learn how to take back your body. You learn how to take back your mind, one step at a time.
You learn how to use certain tools. Okay, this is what I'm feeling. I'm being triggered by this. What do I have to do? Why am I feeling this way? And it's really hard to unlearn all this shit.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Like the unlearning is probably the hardest thing of this whole entire thing, because we're just so set, especially as Latinos, you know, like it's just such a mind fuck. You know, girls cry, but you girls cry over anything. So why should we worry? You know what I mean? Like, you know, and boys, you can't cry because then that makes you a sissy. Like, it's just like, what a mess.
Right. Yes. I'm just learning how to cry because of therapy. I was so like, one of my guards was just like, crying was not possible. My body just shut it down. It was like not safe to cry.
Yes.
And now
because you're vulnerable.
Vulnerable, yeah. And my body was used to protecting myself from such a young age. So like we do have these, you know, it's beyond the fight or flight response. You know, some people's like legs go numb, or you know, there's more intense reactions. A lot of times it shows up in our inability to have like real relationships, not just romantic ones, but friends. Wow. You know, we become isolated. It's hard to keep a job. It's hard to stay focused. Yeah. You know, there are signs.
There are signs. So, yeah. If you can't do your normal day to day, you know, that should be a sign that you might need some help, and that it's out of your league. It's bigger. It's higher than your pay grade for you to figure out what's going on with you sometimes. Yes, and most of us need help. Coño, you know? And it's like, okay, and here's the other thing. Like, again, we're going all over the place, Marissa. I'm sorry. Like, I've got friends that refuse to take a Zoloft. Okay, but they freaking did crack 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, you know, you took that bump of K or something the other day, but you won't go talk to somebody about getting on some antidepressants to maybe level you out.
Because something too that happens with like trauma or reoccurring trauma, we get comfortable. So even though something's bad for us or not great for us
it's
or
still
toxic, yes, we know it. It's the devil we know, and it is so scary to even imagine being happy or at peace.
Wow.
You know, like to be calm, and to even choose that is a terrifying thing when you've never experienced that. And that's also like the real thing is that I don't believe that there's a human alive that doesn't have trauma to unravel. Exactly. Like life is wild, right?
Yes, life is wild. Life is crazy, and people are freaking mean.
And we have become like in society, because we become so uncomfortable with asking for help and getting the tools that we need that are just, they're right there for us. There are these specialists out there. Again, we live in a country that doesn't make it accessible or financially affordable to everybody. So that's also another conversation.
Yeah.
And that's community. So in like one of my worst times, like, in between like financial moments, I found like community. I went to AA meetings, not being an alcoholic, but I just needed to
fellowship. You just needed community.
I found a suicide loss, you know, group. There, you know, there is things that are accessible for us. But again, the scary part is taking that first step. Yeah. You know, and that's why like the book that I wrote is really, it's not like a self-help guide. It's just like about somebody figuring out that they even want to take the first step, and what is the journey to taking that first step, because that first step is everything.
It's a doozy, but it's so important. We were talking about being vulnerable and your book. Okay, so you were a dancer, right? You were a choreographer, right? And you still, I mean, you've got the body, like you still do it, right? You still do it to some degree. Can you like put your leg up? Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have a different show if I kick my leg right now.
That's the kind of show I love. And so then I read that you tore your meniscus, which we have that in common. I tore my meniscus too, but I am no dancer. I can't.
How'd you tear yours?
I can't even do squats. It was sex.
That's
my
wonderful.
leg went one way, and my knee went the other.
That hurt, huh?
But it was a great orgasm. I don't know if it was worth the tearing of the meniscus, but so that happens to you, okay? You're vulnerable. Like, I could just imagine in your mind, this is what I do. This is my craft. This is what I want to do in life. All of a sudden, that's kind of snatched away. You know what I mean? Not that you couldn't do it, but maybe not to the level that you wanted to do. Okay? Then your really close friend passes away by suicide. Did these happen close to each other?
2 weeks apart.
Shut the F up.
Yeah, well, I had the tear on December 4th. I found out, and then I had the surgery December 15th. And then 2 weeks later, or just under that, on the 1st of 2020, is when, she killed herself. Can
we talk about that? I mean, I love your light and your love about this topic, because it's not an easy topic to talk about, right? Like we talked about before the show, this hits everybody. It's not just LGBTQ plus, For me, I stick to LGBTQ because I know that the Trevor Project is an incredible organization, right? And every year they tell us that suicide keeps going up. And that was before the anti-LGBTQ plus youth bills were out, So they expect for these kids to attempt and fucking succeed in this. These numbers are going to go up, Marissa, and we're going to talk about it, for sure, for years to come. You lost your friend. There had to be so much darkness and depression, and we all feel darkness and depression sometime, and even myself, during my drinking journey, that the darkness and depression was so awful that I could not find light or joy. And I felt that this world would be so much better if I wasn't in it. And I'm ashamed to say that out loud, but it's my truth, so I own it, right? And I have the scars to prove it. I didn't talk about it with anybody. Was that the same thing that happened with your friend?
And then with me, and especially with her. She once had Julie was wild. She once talked to me about doing it, in all honesty, a year before it happened. She had bipolar, and she would sink into deep depressions, sometimes for a year at a time. And it's a struggle to ask for help, whether you are bipolar or not, right? Yeah. Whether you have depression or not. And again, it goes back to that. And so, it was. And in her, what she really felt like was the burden. So she left a note. It was a Post-it, and it said, the top of it, the part that I'll share, was that I don't want to be a burden to my friends. And that was hard to digest. I also, I didn't have it in myself when she was at her darkest to be there for her, because I was also in my darkest. But I didn't know it until she did it. And it really scared the shit out of me. And it was hard to grapple with the guilt that I had with her.
Survivor's guilt.
Yes. And I also, it's so cliche. Like, I literally slammed a door in her face, and that is my last memory with her. It took 2 years to deal with that, and 2 years to get out of my own depression.
And this happened in 2020. So this is not even too far.
It's
just a couple of years.
I've just started to see the light, and then I tore my other meniscus.
I want a matching set.
Literally. But the things that I was going, like the tools that because I was in intense therapy. It was 3 times a week. I was very much not alone, watched over, it was heavy for a while. And in those 2 years, I did do a lot of healing that I didn't realize till I tore my other meniscus. This last year has also been pretty tough, because I've had 4 surgeries in less than a year.
Oh, wow.
But yes, it's been hard, but I've been okay.
Yeah.
Which has been wild, because for the first time I asked for help. And that was sort of forced on me because of what happened with Julie.
Yeah.
And that's not always the way it goes. Can't go back and also take her back or get her back. And
of course,
and that's that's the main reason why I wrote the book. Because I wanted to write a hero's journey that she would read if she were alive, and see herself as a hero instead of the burden.
Got it. I love that.
Yeah.
And the reality is that she wasn't a burden. You know what I mean? Like we are our worst critics.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And when we are going through a struggle, my stepdaughter's bipolar. And so I've been through the journey of 18 different kind of meds. Some work, some don't. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm happy, I'm sad. You hate me, you love me. You know, it's a battle. If anybody has bipolar in their family, I feel for you, okay? It's an everyday struggle and you are walking on eggshells every single day and you don't know, okay? But you have no idea the darkness that person is feeling, okay? They feel like they're a burden. They feel like they're never going to find the right meds to help them. They feel that they are freaks. They feel that they don't belong here. They're exhausted.
Exhausted, that's the word.
They're exhausted, Marissa.
Yeah, and I think most people are exhausted with or without the bipolar, and that's the real part. I mean, since 2020, the world has become very exhausting.
Yeah.
It is going by very fast, but it is very exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if we don't ask for the help and surround ourselves with people that we can talk to, and I'm here for like friends renaissance, like graciously separate from the people that you can't have these conversations with because it's probably not suiting either of you.
Yeah.
And like gravitate towards the people that you can.
Submerge yourself with the people that you can talk to.
We need it. Everybody needs it. We need that community. You need at least the one person that you can just say, it's like, I'm fucked up today. I'm not okay. How are you? Like, I'm not good.
Yeah.
I'm not good.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were talking about your bestie, right? Because I have my bestie that's also your bestie straight, my bestie straight. Yeah. And both our besties are the kind of besties that will call us out on our shit. You know what I mean? And that's what we need, you know? Like, there are times that we're like, look, I'm not having a good day. And she'll be like, okay, well, fucking man up because you got to do this, this, and this. And this person needs you. And you said you were going to go talk at that AA meeting. And then another day she'll say like, hey, you need to rest up. You need to recharge. You know, sometimes they just give us this little balance that we might not be able to see ourselves, you know? Yeah. So after this, you decided to write the book. Let's talk a little bit about the book, okay? Rebel in Venus. And it takes place over one girls' night in spent between best friends, Maria and Layla. Over the course of the witty and unexpected evening, Layla's memory is jolted and her once carefully repressed past begins to return to her, triggering a sequence of events that ultimately jeopardizes Layla's unconventional life. Okay, so tell us more about Rebel in Venice, and are you Layla?
It's very much a biomythography.
Okay.
So
I love that, biomythography.
Yes, Audre Lorde, love her. She came up with that. She coined that term. So it's pretty common, but it's, inspired by very, very real events, but taking a lot of creative liberties to tell the right story.
I love it.
But yeah, Layla and me are very close. We're very connected. It's mostly a real story. Almost every story that happens to her is pretty close to home. As I say, write what you know, but it's like this. It goes from present to past. So it's Layla and Maria, her best friend, and they're smoking a joint and they are talking and they are having a pretty great heavy conversation. So as that conversation is coming up, it's testing Layla a lot and Maria as well. So you're going back and forth into Layla's memory of what has happened to her up until this point. And she's like in her mid-30s. And then there's this sort of like climax of what happens between Maria and Layla when Layla's really, most shaken up by herself, so to speak. Okay. It's really a story about friendship also.
It seems like it. I love that. And who's able to pull you out of that darkness sometimes? Or maybe, and that's the thing, sometimes they can't pull us out. Sometimes they could just go, look, there's the exit. Try to get yourself to it.
That's the thing. And like, not that it's not just in Miami, but we also highlight like our friendships of like, this is the girl I go to brunch with, I go to clubs with, and like, look at all the fun things we do on social media.
Look at me on Instagram.
Yes.
That's not real, by the way. It's not real. My hair does not look that perfect all the time. It's a whole filter.
But it's so easy to get caught up in that.
Completely.
Or want your friends to see the perfect version of you.
Yes.
So I also wanted to write this story. Look how beautiful it is to just be all of yourself with the friendship. And also like we focus on a lot of the power of like our romantic relationships, but friendship, I was really shaken by the loss of Julie. And it made me look at every other one of my friendships in a very new and real way with myself as well. So I wanted to also write this like ode to the power of like friendship.
Well, because people don't, and again, something so simple. All relationships take work, fuckers. Every single one.
Yeah.
Okay, your relationship with the Starbucks barista that makes your fucking coffee, that's a relationship. Say hello to them tomorrow, okay? That's the reality of it. And it takes both sides to work. If you are in a friendship where you're the one that calls, picks up, is always looking for the person, making sure they're okay, and you get nothing in return, then you're with the wrong person as a friend.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing is, boundaries. This is also a book about boundaries, because Layla, me, is somebody who has struggled with making the most mundane boundary for herself, like that. Like, can you, do the dishes, whatever it is, like I don't want to do something that's not good for me or that I'm just too tired to do. So it's also about learning what it is to make a boundary. And then once you're able to do that, you realize you have control about the relationships in your life.
Yes.
And reciprocity, yes, if somebody is in a place where they're not ready to be vulnerable with you, that's okay. They don't need your judgment.
No, of course not.
But also, you may need something more from a friendship. And so maybe it's time for you to start looking elsewhere and not, you need what you need.
You need what you need, but what are you bringing also to the table?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And again, relationships take both sides, and are you being a good friend? Check yourself sometimes. That's the truth, because in our community, I mean, especially for me, that I don't have that great relationship with my own blood family. My friends are my fucking family. Okay, they're the ones I spend Thanksgiving with. They're the ones that I call when some of my car breaks down. Do you dream about Julie?
Yeah, not as much as I used to.
Okay.
But every day. Like,
wow.
I think of her. I don't dream of her every day. I think of that. Like, it's weird. Like, I wake up and think about her, and I'll go to sleep and think about her, but not in this like obsessive way. It's just she's present.
She's present.
And I've made it that way too. And it's just, I think when you lose anybody you love, and there's something about suicide, you don't get a finality. You don't get an answer. That's hard to accept. That's the hardest part to accept. And let's see, 3-4 years now past that when it happened. And, I've just sort of keeping her around is something I do because it's the way I've made peace with it.
That's a very smart thing to do though, Marissa, because somebody else, just think about me losing somebody. I put their picture away. I don't want to deal with it, and that's not the right way to do things, you know? You said something about how when Julie left you, that's your last memory of like you slamming the door on her and her note that she left before, unfortunately, taking her own life. I know it's hard for me to tell you this, and I know it's hard to like unpack this, but you are her legacy.
Her sister had before I wrote the book and knew I was going to do stuff like this, I also wanted to have, I guess, the permission from her sister.
I love that.
It's
because she's in the book, of course.
In poor taste or something. But yeah, it's being able to talk about this is very important.
Yeah.
And it's not, to be honest, if I could have her back and not have to talk about it,
claro.
for sure.
Claro, for sure.
But if this is where we are and that's what it is, it's given me a new sense of purpose and power also. I talk about her probably too much. I talk about her as much as possible because beyond what happened to her, she was such a special person. I still have yet to meet somebody like her. So it's nice to remember her in that way also.
Yeah, I love that. Are you single?
I am single.
Like by choice or what?
That's an interesting way to put that.
I know, because listen. Okay, when I first got sober, right, part of the plan is that you don't date, you don't have sex, you don't do shit for the first year. Unless if you're married, then obviously it's different. But these are like the codes that we live by. You need a year to unpack your shit. You need a year to figure out who you are. I didn't know who FayWhat was without vodka. You understand? So so for a year, I had it was a very tough year, Marissa.
But I get it. I get it.
So that's why, you're beautiful, you're talented. I have to ask why, and not that Miami's that easy either. Okay. let's make sure we say that,
It's the place's fault. No. Yes. Since 2021.
Okay.
I've been single and I got divorced that year. And it was, things that I haven't even talked about also happened. I talked a lot about what happened in the book. But yeah, it's just, I guess it is by choice. I've dated casually. I dated casually out of the divorce and quite messily. Is that even a word?
But we all understand. We all get messy when
I
it
gave
comes to
myself
certain
new material
relationships.
for another book. And then I did be intentional. So by choice.
Okay.
And a lot of it was the healing too. Healing a lot of sexual trauma is probably very similar. Like you don't know Faye without vodka. I don't know Marissa who's healed her sexual trauma. I honestly didn't know what it was like to have sex without disassociating.
Wow.
because I just had so much sexual trauma.
Yeah.
And that's so new to me. And just the way I am is so different. So I have been in a place of just getting to know myself and having like all my time as my friends.
I love that.
I'm not in that like I know, but
no, si pasa pasa. If the perfect girl would come up to you with, you know, the right resume and the right money in the bank.
Yeah, and I feel like that exactly.
Sorry, listen, I'm a girl of a certain age.
I feel like I'm just getting to that, but it was about a year, where I was like intentionally celibate.
Good.
No dating. I didn't, you know, I really needed to also realize that I would date to distract myself from myself.
Yes. Oh my God, you are blowing my mind. It's true, because sex can be used in that way also.
Yeah,
you
or
know?
just a relationship, getting consumed with somebody's problems and fixing their life and what they need.
I could fix them so I could just stop talking about and thinking about all the shit that's going on with me.
Yeah.
And that's no good.
Yeah. So I had to deal my own addictions, you know? So yeah, it's a new place. I feel it's actually really nice to feel like single and ready to date, but not desperate because I'm avoiding myself.
I love it.
That's brand new.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and I think that people smell desperation. You know what I mean? Like, I've got single friends that are like, I can't find a man. I can't find a man.
Listen,
I can't find a woman. And I'm like, you're telling the universe that.
That is real. So my therapist said, one of the last, like, you know, engagements right after my divorce really devastated me because I was like, but this was somebody I knew closely. I was like, and this keeps happening, the pattern. And she said it very nicely, you know, but like, yeah, you do. You have a sign. It's like a scent, because predators also have a scent. And people who are preying on people, whether they're aware of it or not, are sniffing out different people who are more susceptible. Yep. Absolutely. So, and I was like, I feel like I have a target on my back. And she was like, yes, you absolutely do.
Wow.
And that was when I was like, I got to be single because I can't have this target on my back. That's not what I want to keep attracting. If that's what I'm attracting, that's fucking terrifying.
Oh my God. But you know, you're so freaking ahead of the game, Marissa. Like, you're blowing my fucking mind. Like,
that's what happens when you got mad surgeries. You sit at home.
Right, you sit around and you start reading shit and you just start learning. You talk to your therapist on the phone. You're just, you got, oh my God. No, because it's so true. I was going to ask you if there was another book on the horizon, and you told me now with your experiences there is. Do you think that, do you want to sit down and write another book?
Yes, I do. I started to, I call it the sketching phase, you know, so outlining. Yeah. Because I'm still very much in this promotional of Rebel and Venus, and I do want to get it optioned. Like, I'm in the business part of the book.
Of the book, yeah.
Once I feel like that, I'm not good at dividing my mind that way. So when my mind sparks, I have enough right now to take the notes. I leave it there. Yeah. Sometime this coming year, I know that's when I'll sink into. Okay. Because it's coming. No. It gets to a point where you're like, I have to do it now. I gotta. I love that. Okay, so my show is called The FayWhat Show, as you know, right? And so every time I introduce myself, I go, you know, I'm FayWhat, right? So I'm going to need for you to look into that camera and say that. Say FayWhat. All right. Okay, so you're going to go in there and you're going to say, I'm Marissa. I've got a brand new book on Amazon. It's called blah, 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 blah. And I loved being on The FayWhat Show. FayWhat. There. All right. Go for it, okay? 3, 2, 1, go. I'm Marissa Alma, and I have my new book out on Amazon, Rebel and Venus, and this is The FayWhat Show. FayWhat! Yay! You did it so good! You did it so good! Didn't she do it so good? Bestie, didn't she do it so good? Right? See? When the bestie says it's good, that means we know it's good. You can find Marissa Alma Nick's book, Rebel and Venus, on Amazon, or visit rebelandvenus.com. Make sure that you also follow her on all social media networks. Follow her. Find out what she's doing. Maybe you'll be part of her next book. I'm going to try to get into that book somehow. Then this crazy TV personality started hitting on me. I don't know, something like that. I don't know. Marissa Alma Nick, thank you so much for being vulnerable, for sharing you know, and folks out there, you know, mental health doesn't have to hold you down forever, right? You can talk to somebody. If suicide's on your mind, talk to someone about it. You don't have to be alone. One of the horrible things about our mind is that it talks to us in our own voice. So we believe it. And we believe that we're the only ones going through it. You know, and that right there, that thought process of thinking that you're alone can kill you. You're not alone. You're not alone. Thank you, Miss Marissa. Un besito. Mwah! My Cuban Jew. I love that. Oh yeah, hashtag my Cuban, watch out, te voy a reemplazar. All right, we'll be right back. So, did you enjoy the show? I know you did. So make sure to click subscribe so you won't miss any of the events, news, or interviews right here on the FayWhat
FayWhat show. Ring the bell at the bottom of the screen, right there, so you'll be alerted every time we're live. You can also click on the Happening Out Television Network logo, so you can see all of the shows on the most diverse LGBTQ plus media network. Find out just what we're doing to bring the L and the G together right here on the FayWhat show. Get the week started with me.